Because, well, I'm going to talk to Brad. Because
Okay.
I don't know Brad.
Oh God,
know,
here
but
we go.
But
This might go off the
But
rails
Brad,
again, Brad.
it might
Get
go off.
ready.
Sorry, Brad. We had our first guest. We had the connection to Minnesota, and now with Brad, I was an actual graduate of the UND hockey program, and do you know how many beat writers they've ever had covering hockey at UND? How many? In the history of UND hockey,
Like
the
5?
Fighting Sioux to the Fighting Hawks, 2.
Oh, okay.
Verge Foss and Brad.
Wow.
Awesome.
Brad has better hair than Verge, because I think Verge Foss has, but I can't tell because Brad's gonna have. So welcome to the
I'm
show,
catching
Brad.
up to him.
Yeah, are you? Oh,
Yeah, that's why I got the hat on here, making sure. No, Verge still sits by me at the press box every single game. Amazing resource. I hear all sorts of stories about 1987.
I was there. I was like in 1987. By the way, we're going to go off.
Tell the whole story, Pete.
North
Tell them
Dakota,
your connection.
North
Go ahead.
Dakota won the national championship in 1987 with what I would consider one of the best assembled hockey teams ever. And I'll look at the Minnesota Golden Gophers this year with that top line. This was Herkus, the Herkus Circus, Bobby Joyce. It was a very, very good hockey team. The goaltender was Eddie Belfour. Might have heard of him.
Who's the backup?
But I wasn't the backup. I was so far. I didn't even get to open the door. I was in section 101J. As the practice goalie that year. So all I did is get beat up. Because you know what the third string goalie gets during practice? He gets beat up. You just beat up. You think they practice high hard ones on Eddie? No, on me. But that team was absolutely an elite hockey team. So it's amazing. You still get to hear all the stories about the 87 team. Oh, sorry. Now we can go on.
All right. NCAA selection Sunday revealed the field of 16. What were your initial reactions when you saw this? Any surprises? What were your thoughts when you saw it all break down?
Nothing really surprised me. I thought the field could look very, the six in college hockey now. For those that don't know, there's a formula that dictates who gets in the tournament. So we know exactly on selection Sunday who's in without any shred of doubt. It's not like basketball where you're sitting there wondering who's going to be in there, who's going to be out. We already know it is an objective formula, which I think is great. And so we already knew who was going to be in. The only question is the site placements of teams and some of that. And it really turned out fairly similar to what I thought it would end up being.
Brad, one thing I want to ask about this tournament and the selection, over the years, you've seen it in different geographic locations where it doesn't really suit the fan base. It seems to me this year they're trying to be better. It's not perfect by any means because there is no western site further west than Fargo. And Fargo, you've got 3 Minnesota teams, which is fantastic. So the championship game is going to be well attended for sure. Do you think they've done a better job this season than in past seasons in separating that by geographic regions?
I think so. And it also set up well for the committee that the teams were of the seeds where they were able to do that. If all the 3 seeds are from the East, well, they have really no choice but to send an Eastern 3 seed to Fargo. The way everything matched up, it was one of those, for Fargo, it was one of those perfect set of circumstances where they could put them all there. The other thing they tried to do is avoid, interconference matchups in the first round. And now you have Minnesota, St. Cloud State, and Minnesota State Mankato are all in different conferences. So the way it's set up was really perfect for them to be able to do this, and they did it. So I think there are some years that even if they wanted to, it wouldn't work out. This year it did.
When you talk about North Dakota too, and they lose to St. Cloud in overtime, is that a disappointment? I know it's the team you cover, North Dakota. Was that a disappointment for that team this year that they didn't make the final 16?
For sure. I think they had really high hopes for this team. The first 2 months, they just gave up so many goals. They were really porous defensively. They fixed that in about December, and they were actually pretty good from December to the end of the year. Their record was good. Their goals against, they dropped by a full goal. Things turned around. However, the first 2 months, they dug such a deep hole. They couldn't quite climb out of it. They were really close to climbing all the way out of it. But they barely miss. And, when you look back at it, yes, the St. Cloud State loss prevented them from advancing to the tournament potentially, because then they would have had to beat 7th seed CC to get in, which is no gimme, as Denver found out. But big picture, the first 2 months cost them. And in college hockey, this pairwise formula, it does not weigh the end of the season any more than the start. So game 1 of the season is just as important as game 35. And so that's why, sometimes you look at those October losses and everyone, not a big deal. Well, no, those games are really important. It's kind of like the NHL. They're still worth 2 points. Doesn't matter when they are. And if you dig yourself too big of a hole, sometimes you can't climb out.
Well, we were talking about regions, and of course, I have a dream someday that there will actually be a conference out west, and we'll see more of the NCAA hockey tournament out this way. That's for another day, though. But I wanted to ask you, as you look at the first round matchups, do you have any favorites? Do you have any games where you're like, what are the best first round matchups, and who are your favorites in this tournament?
I think there are several ones that jump out to me. I think the regional in Manchester is really, really good.
Yes.
Denver is the returning champion. I think Cornell's going to give them a game first round. I think that is going to be a really interesting game. Just the way Cornell plays, they can defend really well. They have some bigger forwards that can make it hard on defensemen. The other game there, BU has been playing really well, and they're playing a Western Michigan team that can score a lot of goals sometimes in a hurry. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting defensively from Western Michigan, but if they play well, those are 4 teams that are all like legit Frozen Four contenders. I feel if any one of those teams come out of that region, including Cornell, who's the 4 seed, I won't be surprised at all. I think that region is going to be outstanding. I think another one first round. I think Harvard and Ohio State's a really intriguing matchup
with Coyotes prospect John Farinacci.
Yep.
Yeah, here's one thing people probably wouldn't guess off the top of their heads. The team in college hockey with the most NHL draft picks on it, Harvard.
Wow.
So Harvard is a loaded team with a lot of talent. Sean Farrell, Matthew Coronado are dynamite players, and Harvard is a legit Frozen Four contender. I feel they will have to go through Quinnipiac potentially. Quinnipiac plays Merrimack, should be a good game. Quinnipiac was my preseason favorite, so I got to stick with them right now. I feel. However, I really look at Harvard as a team that's a team to watch out for.
Not going to lie, I'm kind of rooting against Quinnipiac because Rand Pecknold was just a royal pain in the ass when I played against him in college. But
oh, man. All right. Well, you talked about some of your favorites. What are some storylines that we should be looking out for, maybe for those aren't not as familiar with the college hockey landscape?
Well, number one, especially, covering the NCHC, Denver goalie Magnus Corona, he was their goalie for their team that won the title last year. He's a big senior. He was not playing down the stretch. He came in to play in the semifinal game. He was back against CC. And then in the third period, he just kind of pulled himself. And after the game, asked Coach David Carl, what's the concern? He said, Magnus Corona's fine. And we wanted to put in the other goalie, give us a different, I think he even mentioned his puck moving skills. Whether you buy that or not is, up for debate. But, I think even if Carl says there aren't injury concerns, I think everyone watching him skate off and go down the tunnel after he came off for a little bit is wondering, are there injury concerns or are there not? We don't know. So I think that is one thing that's that definitely jumps out. In the Fargo regional, you see the Minnesota teams. I think Minnesota should get past Canisius in the first round. I don't know who's going to win between St. Cloud State and Minnesota State Mankato, but Minnesota State Mankato has had Minnesota's number in the NCAA tournament. And I'm sure if this is not the same Minnesota State team as the past few years, they lost a lot of guys, but I'm still sure if Gopher fans see the Mavericks that come up there, that's going to bring back some bad memories. And, maybe the players want to bury some of those. So we'll see there.
Yeah, they'll be motivated after that Big Ten title loss. Okay, we're going to put you on the spot now. Give us your Frozen Four predictions.
Oh man, you are a little bit, but I'll roll with it here. You know what? I don't want to pick all the 1 seeds, but I have to pick Quinnipiac. I had them before the season as my preseason number 1. I got Denver right last year, so I'm on a roll right now. So we'll see. I'm going to stick with them, even though I do really like Harvard. Minnesota, I think, is the best team in Fargo. St. Cloud State, they had a defenseman, Dylan Anhorn from Union transfer, who is phenomenal for them. And since he went down with a season-ending injury in January, they're 500. Mm-hmm. And that includes the NCHC title last weekend. So they've not been the same team. Minnesota State Mankato just snuck in. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they had an unbelievable rally to get in the tournament. They were down 2 goals with less than 3 minutes to go. Yep. They tied it with 2 extra attacker goals, 1 in overtime. I just think Minnesota is by far the best team in that regional. In Manchester, I'm going to go with BU. I think they're playing really well right now. I think there's some questions with Denver coming in, and BU seems to be on a roll for me. And Allentown, I mean, this is so lame. I'm picking 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed, really? Like, I can't do that. Like, I think Michigan's the best team in Allentown. The one thing, Carter Gylander, the goalie for Colgate, if you're looking for a goalie that could steal a game, Carter Gylander can steal a game. Big Red Wings pick. Michigan Tech is the 3 seed in that regional. Blake Pietila can steal a game. So they are in a regional where they're the best team, but they have a couple of goalies in the regional that can steal games.
A couple things I want to ask about, because as we already said, I'm a Minnesota guy, huge college guy too. The state of Minnesota has 6 NCAA Division I hockey teams, 6 of them in 3 different conferences and in an independent. Brad, can you please fix that and put them all in the same one and throw North Dakota and Wisconsin back in there so we can have some good old-fashioned rivalries? So get on that. That's first. Secondly, we know Matthew Nyes. He's a literally trained here in Arizona, and he's been outstanding for the University of Minnesota this year. He is a Hobey Baker finalist, isn't he, Matthew Nyes?
Yeah.
A lot of people think he's going to win it. Yep.
So my question to you, because Hobey Baker is the same weekend as the NCAA championship, the Frozen Four is the same weekend. Who do you have as your Hobey Baker finalist, or who are we looking for to be the best player in college hockey this year?
First of all, I think we all miss the old WCHA days where all those teams were there.
Yes.
The Final 5 and just turned into an amazing event.
At St. Paul,
so,
yep.
Yes. I'll work on that.
Okay,
I'm not sure how much pull I have with the Big Ten.
Yeah, they got a little bit of sway there.
Yeah, but Hobey, I think this year it's I think Adam Fantilli is he's the leader by a substantial margin right now. I think a lot of this is statistical based, and Matthew Nyes probably got off to too slow of a start. I think Fantilli, his numbers are just too hard to ignore. I think he's the guy. The question for me is more who's going to be second and third, who's going to get on the podium, so to speak, and be at the ceremony. I think Devin Levi has a great chance.
Yeah.
I thought he should have won the Hobey last year.
Yeah,
he wasn't
John's happy now.
Yeah.
He was amazing. The Minnesota guys, one risk they run is splitting votes.
Yeah. Right.
You really have some guys who think Logan Cooley's better, some guys who think Matthew Nyes is better.
Yeah.
I think the call is usually after the regionals. So that's when they do the conference call. That's when everyone votes. So there's 10 finalists. They vote for the 10, and then they'll announce the top 3. But there's not another round of voting. I think some people think that after the 3, then they vote for the 3. No, the 3 they announce are just the top 3 vote getters, but they already know who is won by the time they announce the top 3. So I think Fantilli is going to be tough to beat.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise. We really appreciate it. We'll be looking forward to watching.
Brad, are you in Grand Forks right now?
I am.
Is it snowing?
Amazingly, it stopped. So
wait, is there snow on the ground though?
How recently was it snowing?
Oh, is there snow on the ground? I have a drift next to my driveway that's taller than me.
Buddy, Brad, I don't know if you know
March
this.
20th.
They have cars and houses here in Arizona. You could literally move and be here. Just saying, it was 70 degrees and sunny. Well, actually, we have a cloud or
It's
two.
cloudy.
We have a
it's little
cloud.
gray today.
We
so,
might have
yeah.
a cloud. Sorry,
I
Brad.
thought we were doing good because we were in the 20s. Now you guys just ruined my day here.
Buddy, boy, howdy. Yeah, no chance.
Oh, no chance. Well, Brad, we thank you so much, and looking forward to following your coverage of the tournament, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Anytime, guys. Great to chat with you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks, bud,
Thanks,
for doing
Brad.
that last minute, too. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.
Awesome.
Take care.